Susan McNeil here, and this month I've been reviewing my book Echoes of Mercy. The reason is because one of my book clubs, Timbuktu Book Club, is reviewing this book at the end of the month, and so I've been highlighting it. So this book is based during the Western migration from the Native Americans' point of view. It follows a blind man's journey through the ever-changing, tumultuous New World, and it's a historical romance. So one of the questions I always get asked a lot is, but you're a Nigerian girl. Why are you writing a book about Native Americans? Like, why are you the one to tell that story? It prompted me to write a preface up before the book starts, and so I'll share that with you today. This story first came to me one Sunday afternoon in 2003. I was 13 years old at the time. I was homesick with a fever. My family had left me to rest and went to church. I was lying on the living room sofa when, in hindsight, I imagined hearing a knock on the door. Till this day, I don't know if I actually walked to the door or if I imagined it. Nevertheless, when I opened the door, Raymond was standing there. He was threadbare, dressed in all black, with a black piece of cloth around his eyes. He was weary and covered in scars. I felt sorry for him immediately, but I was a bit apprehensive at his presence at my door. He smiled at me solemnly and said hello, and I knew I had nothing to dread. He wanted me to tell his story. I couldn't stop thinking about him after that day. I wondered what his life was like, what had brought upon all his suffering. I carried him with me everywhere I went, in my heart and in my mind. It wasn't until the next year, 2004, I was 14 at the time, that I finally put my pen to paper, literally. I felt very proud of myself. I was a writer. Through the various pioneer books I consumed at the time, I had fallen deeply in love with Native Americans, Red Indians as they were called in those books. But most of the stories I read were from the emigrating traveler's point of view, and so the Red Indians were often portrayed as savages, attacking the wagons of peaceful pioneers. They were portrayed as scary people who delighted in scalping. They were almost inhuman. I didn't like that one bit. I found myself fascinated by them instead. Their culture, their identity. I wanted to know more about them. I associated strongly with them and wanted to live in their world. And so it was very natural for me that my very first novel was about these people that I loved so much. Even though I hadn't set foot in the West at that point, nor did I have access to the internet or to non-fiction books chronicling their history. It was no concern to this Nigerian girl. I just wrote from my heart. I hand wrote the first draft of Echoes of Mercy. It was 400 pages long. When I was finally done with it in 2006, I proudly showed my parents my first book. My dad teased me for handwriting it, that who did I think was going to read it when my handwriting was barely legible. He told me to type it out. I bought me my first laptop. My mom read a bit of the story after I was done typing it. She laughed that I thought Red Indians was the historical version of modern day Indians, whereas name used to be Ranjan. She explained to me that there were two different people groups on different continents. So for my next draft, I started to do serious research. I initially told myself I was going to write a generic Native American story without getting too boggled down with specific details like the intricacies of the different tribes, locations, time period, or even correlating my story with actual Western migration history. I learned the hard way that that would be impossible, especially after moving to America for college and taking US history. While living in America, I befriended a number of Native American people and learned a lot about their culture firsthand. I even got to attend a Native American powwow, and I was blown away. After this, I knew I had to clamp down on the specifics and deepen my research. This was excruciating because whenever I thought I was finally done with my story, a new error in the story would come to my attention and I would have to start the process all over again. Every time this happened, I would feel like crying my eyes out or just giving up on the story. But I couldn't for the life of me. The story utterly consumed my being. When I turned 20, initially I despaired that the book would no longer be published by a teenage author. But in hindsight, I am thankful. I have written over 100 drafts of this story in the 13 years it's taken me to complete the book. And yet, I'm very nervous that the book is being published, though I know in my spirit it is time because I no longer live and breathe the story. If I continue to work on Echoes of Mercy at this juncture in my life, I will ruin the story. One thing I truly appreciate about this book is that my teenage mind produced it. I like the subtle sweetness and underlying innocence of the book. If I rewrite it now as a full fledged adult, I fear that my now cynical nature will taint the purity of the book, and I'm extremely proud of the book the way it is. I appreciate all the years spent living and reliving the lives of these characters. I have shed every tear Raymond has. I have endured his hardship, suffering, his loneliness, and drowned with him in the bitter agony of his pain. And I know without a doubt I have done his story justice. I honestly can't believe this book is finally getting published. I wasn't sure it ever would, for the story seemed never ending. I've been writing the story for so long, I can't imagine never having to revisit it again. The feeling is surreal. But I'm exceedingly happy to finally drop the pen, metaphorically, and to close this chapter of my life. It has been such a fantastic journey. I regret nothing of the experience. I am tremendously grateful to God for seeing me through this long and tedious journey, and I hope you are truly blessed by the story. It is bittersweet saying goodbye, but it really isn't a goodbye because Raymond lives on these pages and in my heart forever. Please check out the book. I've had positive reviews so far. That makes me very happy. I spent a long time writing it, so I'm happy to hear that at least all my efforts were not in vain. Check it out on my website or DM me for a copy. And I'll see you guys in the next vlog. Bye.